All right. One, two, three, play. Okay.
Why does every horror movie start with a campfire?
It's witchcraft.
Hi, and welcome to the Solarium, Shell and Layla's moonlight-filled herb garden, where we put away our dusty grimoires, stow our scrying mirrors, and put our cauldrons to good use, brewing delicious tea and popping popcorn. The nights are getting chillier and a little bit longer. The spooky season is almost upon us. It's the perfect time of year to turn our attention to cloaks, hot cocoa, and spooky stories.
This was super, super fun. What we did is we had a Zoom date with Netflix involved. We watched and are going to talk about today Tarot. Now, Tarot is a brand new 2024 supernatural horror film directed by Spencer Cohen and Anna Halberg. Now, apparently, this is based on a 1992 novel, Horrorscope. I didn't realize that until today, but yeah.
A listener had mentioned to us a while back when this was in theaters that this movie was coming out and it was based on tarot cards. And we had a few people write in and say, you guys should watch this and tell us if it's going to be absolutely crappy, if it's going to do tarot dirty, should we go see it, and do we need to be mad? So we tried to stay away from any spoilers and go into it clean slate.
Actually, we did. We did pretty good. Actually, it's because we were both super busy.
Yeah, and behind on everything. So I'm going to give a little disclaimer right here. I am about a month and a half behind on everything.
Same. So if you have messaged us on Instagram or Facebook or sent us an email and you have not heard back from us,
If I owe you a tarot reading, if I'm supposed to mail you something, I'm behind and I'm getting there, I promise.
we've been having like crazy.
It's been a month. It really
It
has.
has, and we're getting back on track with responses.
Yeah.
So hang tight. We're going to get back to you. Just be patient with us. We're on it.
It's just us two.
Yeah.
Seasonal disclaimer that this whole thing is put on just by Shell and I. We do everything. So it's a lot.
We're a staff of two.
We're a staff of two and we're giving ourselves bonuses, I swear. No, I don't know. Anyway.
I'll give you a raise if you give me a raise.
All right. Yes. All right. So a 10% raise of $0.
Is zero. So
Anyway,
this movie, you know, I feel like I watched too many horror movies, so I kind of was like, another horror movie based on tarot. And I kind of went into this thinking, what are they going to do to make tarot evil once again? Maybe that's me being biased, but that was what I went into it with.
I've never seen a movie where tarot was part of the plot, or especially not even the main part of the plot. I've seen, I mean, a million and one different Ouija board horror movies, but I don't think I've ever seen one where tarot cards were part of it. So this was new for me. So I was curious, first of all, to see what deck they were going to use, and secondly, if they were going to get anything right at all.
Okay, let's start with the deck because let's just get that right out of the way right from the get-go.
So we haven't gotten into any spoilers yet, but we're just going to tell you right now that this whole episode is going to be spoiler filled. So if you don't want to have tarot spoiled for you, turn this off
Stop
now.
now.
So the tarot deck.
This is not an actual deck.
This was created specifically for the movie. The main cards that you see were created by an artist named Richard Wells, who goes by Slippery Jack on social media.
Now, I have a feeling, let's just put this out there. I have a feeling this will end up being a deck.
People are asking for it all
People are
over.
already asking for it. So, I am sure that that will be coming down the pike. But today, as of right now, this is not currently a deck.
Very macabre deck. It looks hand drawn, hand painted on old paper. And it's a little twisted. Think slightly abstract, like an abstract painting. They're not exactly proportionate. They don't line up. Like the people's bodies aren't, they're a little contorted in odd places. It gives it a very disconcerting and unsettling feeling.
Lots of skeleton-y type people.
Yeah, very, very scary, scary deck.
My first response to you was, I want to get my hands on that deck for my collection
Same.
because that's just my addiction. So I'm sure if it comes out, I will get it. But I think that it would be an interesting deck for the right person if it were a real deck. And I do imagine it will at some point in time in the future be a real deck.
In this movie, they right away start out with combining tarot and astrology. And they do explain it. The main character, Haley, played by Harriet Slater.
Yeah.
Haley is the reader. Everyone in this friend group seems to know that she's the one that knows how to read tarot cards. She starts out saying that she combines tarot and astrology. And conveniently enough, there is a large astrology reading cloth that she can use to lay the tarot cards down on.
Okay. I like the fact that portions of mixing the tarot and astrology that I thought were pretty kick-ass, loved it, spot on, let's do this.
Absolutely. Well, we were just talking to Dave Zilla about his Tarot of the Unexplained, where he has astrological symbols in quite a few of the cards, but especially in the major arcana. And we talked about how there's a generally accepted Golden Dawn version of what cards go with which astrological signs. And people have different views, but it's generally accepted that they kind of do mix a little bit in some symbology. So that part of it made sense to me.
But
I'm going to read your stars by using the cards was just a little far. And when somebody took out the deck and said, read our horoscopes, I cringed so hard. I just about fell off my chair.
I mean, I couldn't. I was like, what the holy?
It was so cheesy.
I mean, okay, maybe what they were doing seemed pretty good and quote unquote authentic, but like their verbiage and how they were describing it, I was like, sweet baby Jesus, what is going on here? They obviously did not have like a witch or like any sort of knowing person on set giving them any sort of like background.
Slippery Jack, the guy that created the deck, seems to kind of at least know a little bit what he was doing. He does have a folklore book out, so I'm guessing he had a little bit of an idea behind the cards that he created, but it really seems like they did not consult any type of witch or pagan or tarot reader at all. Hey witches, future Layla here. Actually, the producers of the movie Tarot did consult with a tarot reader / astrologer, and her name is Angie Banicki. Angie Banicki's bio says that she's a high-profile entertainment publicist turned tarot card reader to the stars. What started as a hobby is now a full-time job and lifestyle. She has a website. I'm not sure how much of her advice the producers did or did not take. So do with that information what you will. Future Layla out. Now, you and I both, when Haley first put the cloth down, actually, she first said a dumb line that I do not want to get picked up by TikTok and repeated. She said, it's kind of an unspoken rule that you don't read with someone else's deck. And they've made this line to be like some magical, mystical wisdom of the ages. And that's just like, you don't touch other people's shit, like just general knowledge. That's not some esoteric proclamation. It's no metaphysical manifesto.
Just like you don't touch my tarot deck, you don't freaking touch my wallet, or you don't.
You don't grab someone's computer without asking, or their phone either,
Why is it different? Because it's a tarot deck.
Yeah.
I'm going to be just as pissed off if you take my phone. Like, what?
Exactly. So there's no like mystic thing here. It's just generally accepted you shouldn't. It's bad manners, might not work for you. And if there's a curse on it, it's always a bad idea.
Don't touch other people's shit. Period.
Yeah,
no matter what it is.
There you go. And then it's not a problem.
Now, I just wanted to point out that conveniently, they find this deck in like an Airbnb-esque type house.
Yeah.
So you got this group of friends. Let's back up a second. You got this group of friends. They go away for the weekend. They're in like this Airbnb-esque type place in the Catskills of New York. Yeah. Shocking. I feel like every movie in the Catskills, people end up dying. Luckily, they find this tarot deck and happen to have a tarot reader in the friend group, and there's happens to be an astrology cloth around it. Now, what are your thoughts on if you found a box with symbols all over it on opening it? So you see this box, a wooden box, and it's got a pentacle on it with symbols all around it. Do you open it or do you not open it? Let's throw out the window.
Are we
Don't
being
tell the people
honest?
that. Yeah, we are being honest.
Shit. Maybe. I guess it would really depend.
I'm probably on the maybe fence too, not
I'm on the
technically.
maybe fence because if it was at your house or an obviously witchy house, fuck no. I'm not going near that. I'm not touching that. That's their shit. I don't, not without reading the energy first or at all. If it's just like some random house, like maybe, okay, here's my head canon. They're in a big, huge house in the Catskills. It looked like somebody's rich summer house, right? Because it was stocked and it looked like obviously a house, like lived in. It did not look like a
Right,
hotel, right?
right.
So it's obviously some rich person's summer house. There's a room marked private, do not enter, and it's padlocked. And they, of course, break the door down and go in.
Well, yeah, wouldn't you?
No, that I would not do. I'm too much of a goody two shoes. I'm not breaking down any doors looking for alcohol of all fucking things. They had weed. The stoner guy Paxton had weed. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of
Oh,
myself.
by the way, there was also the token stoner in the movie. That was spot on.
There was, and I'm like, the stoner better live.
You literally yelled that the whole movie.
I know people don't like Jacob Batalon, who played Paxton. Some people do, some don't. I'm in the camp of I think he's adorable. I love him as Ned in Spider-Man, whatever. I don't care. Hate me, whatever. But I think he's great, and I wanted the stoner to live. So they're looking for alcohol, even though they have weed, whatever. They break in this door, and in this normal house, in this locked room, looks like this person is a collector of weird and unusual things. There's like a Madame Zoltar type thing.
I think I literally said it looked like an antique store bedroom.
Yeah, it looks like somebody just collects esoteric shit.
Stop talking about my house like that.
If it was in the Thousand Islands, I would totally believe it was your house. So the stoner, of course, is the one that finds the box with all the symbols on it. Now, if this was the case, if my friend had broken in this room and I, of course, oh no, we shouldn't be doing this and go in anyway, and we're looking around and it just looks like a bunch of collector junk. Yeah, I think I'd open it. I'd be like, that looks like a tarot box and that's got some vibes coming off of it. However, and here's your witchy tip, listeners. Maybe they should have checked the energy of that box, right? Like, wouldn't you
Right,
do that? Would you, at the very least, have picked that up and, like, this feels wrong?
right,
The energy feels off. So the tip is check the vibes of any type of magical tool before you use it.
right,
Maybe it needs a cleansing or maybe it's not for you.
right, right.
Trust that instinct. Like, there was one point where Haley opened the box and like a breeze blew through the room and you could tell everyone was visibly uncomfortable. That's your clue, people. That's your red flag right there. Maybe we shouldn't
What
fuck
a-
with this.
like, I understand there's fuck around and find out, but then there's naive, man.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, if the vibes are off, no, I wouldn't open it. But if I just found some random tarot box, yeah, I probably would open it.
Now there's the third factor. It was the stoner who found it. You've been high before. Sometimes you just are like, hey, let me do this. And then you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
Are you trying to say that as a stone person, I might grab that deck and use it? Maybe. It's possible. But that reminds me that I want to get into the stoner character, Paxton. Because while this movie was a lot of fun, it had so many plot holes. Still fun, don't get me wrong, but they could have done it way better. And one of the ways is with the character Paxton. Like, they practically wrote it into the movie and just did nothing with it. Okay, let me explain. Spoiler, the tarot cards are possessed by a woman who had been an astrologer / tarot reader hundreds of years ago. And she tells a fortune that comes true in a horrible way. And so the person that she told it about gets revenge on her in a horrible way. And she curses the cards, kills herself, and possesses them. So now anyone who uses these cards, or rather anyone who gets their cards read, not anyone who uses them, but anyone
Right, who gets their cards read.
read is cursed to die.
Now, in this particular next scene, the main character, Haley, the tarot reader person, they open the deck, they find it's tarot. So she decides she wants to give everybody what she calls a horrorscope reading.
Yeah, she's going to read their horoscopes with
Right,
the cards because it's the one girl's birthday. Elise
right, right,
keeps
right,
saying
right.
it's my birthday.
Right. So she lays down this beautiful cloth, actually I wish I had one, not gonna lie, and does kind of this wheel of the year or astrological spread.
At first, when we first got into the movie, we saw that it was 12 cards and we were like, is that like a Wheel of the Year spread?
Right. So she lays out for basically each sign in the zodiac.
Yeah.
And then in the center, she put a significator card. Basically, that's where things get twisty-turny for each of these people in the friend group who gets a reading, is the significator card is the card that kind of attaches to them. So you have Elise, whose birthday it was. She gets the High Priestess. Lucas, the ex-boyfriend, gets the Hermit. Madeline gets the Hanged Man, Paige, the Magician, Paxton, the Fool, Grant, the Devil, and Haley did a reading for herself, and she gets the Death card. So, yes, they all had 13 cards, but it's the significator card that comes into play for each of these people.
She said what each person's zodiac sign was, and I think she started their wheel on their sign.
I think so, yeah.
And then went counterclockwise around the zodiac wheel. So you got to see quite a few of the cards, not the whole deck, but you got to see quite a few of the cards. And they're very scary looking. You know, they're definitely very on the dark side.
I'm on it, just saying.
Oh, yeah, that and the cloth. So Screen Gems, Alloy Entertainment, Sony Pictures. We're telling you right now, the deck and the cloth, please put it out.
Do it. Just do it.
People would buy it just because it's interesting. A lot of decks, especially lately, seem to be very fluffy and fairy and light and beautiful, and I love them. I think they're great. But you know, there's something to be
dark is good too.
Yeah, especially this time of year, we're all looking for a little bit of that, you know,
'Tis
Halloween
the season for dark tarot.
Yeah. So why not? I have been, okay, tangent. I have been kind of addicted to looking at Kickstarter tarot decks lately.
Ooh, do tell.
There are some gorgeous and interesting things out there, and I'm super excited. I have to be very careful because I'm just going to be like funding all of them. I already have 6 on a watch list that I think are fantastic. But anyway, you know, as she was reading everybody's cards, you and I both were popping up with, that means they're going to die this way, and this means they're going to die that way.
This is where the movie became every other horror movie you know in your life, where you have a group of friends, they're all doing something, and all of a sudden everybody starts getting picked off one by one. But I liked the interesting ways that like they made those tarot cards kind of come to life.
Yes, that was so much fun.
The Hermit card, even I was like, wah, wah.
I loved that. You know, the particular way each of those little vignettes of how the people were killed by their major arcana spirit were fantastic.
Yeah.
The Hermit was so good. I had 2 that I thought were very clearly the spookiest.
Okay, do tell.
Don't say it out loud yet, but can you think of the 2 you think were the spookiest?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to tell you my 2, and then you tell me if that kind of compares to yours.
Okay.
So the first one I thought was super fucking spooky was the Fool. Just because I thought, like, this is a creepy clown, and he just kept kind of shadowing Paxton and showing up. It's that kind of blink, he's closer. Blink, he's closer. You know, the door is closed. And it was that creepy laugh every time. So I just thought that was very well done and very creepy. But the scariest one by far to me was the Magician. And the Magician killed Paige, who was played by the actress Avantika. Paige's death at the hands of the Magician was gory. It was scary. It was awful.
Painful.
It was a horrible way to die. That was just bad. So how about you? What were your 2 scariest?
Okay, I'm going to agree with you on the Fool. It was unsettling.
Very.
It was like all I could think of. Remember back in the day when I had that wonderfully awesome kitty cat, Salem?
Mm-hmm.
Remember how he would like he wouldn't kill the mouse, but he would like wound it and then like almost bat it around and toy with it and watch it suffer, but not really let it die. That's how I felt that the Fool was in here. Like he was batting Paxton around like a wounded mouse with a cat.
Yeah.
But the Hermit shook me.
The Hermit was scary. I felt like he was hurting that guy.
I felt like he was controlling the darkness to almost suffocate his existence. It was like, I don't know. The Hermit shook me. Just, you know how like in that tunnel where everything just went dark, 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 dark.
Oh, that hallway when he first saw him and he came there and then each light in the hallway got dark. That creeped me out so bad. That dark was just like coming after him.
Yeah. The Hermit was definitely the one for me because it was like the darkness itself was the Hermit, even though the lantern was even a little further away, but the darkness itself, and it was like he's coming, 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 coming. And I was
Ugh.
shook.
Yeah, no, very scary. They did an excellent job. They were very fun. It reminded me of old school jump scare horror with some really good creepy factors in there.
And in that vein, they really brought those particular cards to life in a very awesome, bravo kind of way.
Yeah, I would not say that they got the meanings of the cards correct. Like if you listen to Haley in the beginning when she's doing the readings, she doesn't exactly get the meanings of the cards right. She doesn't even exactly get the astrology right. And I'm no astrologer and I caught some of that. So even if the cards aren't exactly accurate, the characters were creepy, they were interesting, the death scenes were scary. I think they did a good job with at least that part of it.
You know, like we both agreed on at the beginning of this, they definitely did not have any sort of expert whatsoever, like on the set giving
Yeah.
assistance.
Future Layla popping in to remind you that yes, oddly, yes they did. It's a horror movie. You know, they don't get anything right. They don't get Ouija boards right. They don't
Right,
get Catholicism right. I mean, I didn't go into this expecting them to get it right,
right,
but they did it right enough that it was kind of believable.
right.
It was interesting how they had combined the tarot and the astrology together. That wasn't made up for this film. That's been around for a very long time. There have even been astrological spreads like the one that they used in the movie that have been in use for decades, at least. However, you are absolutely required to swallow down a few times the plot holes, the leaps of faith that they take, the
Bullshit.
your skepticism. You have to right because you're like, really? Really? A couple times you just have to be like, all right, fine, I'm going to go with it because it's more fun that way.
Right.
But like some of the things I'm talking about is something that you and your beloved mentioned right at the very beginning. You're like, is this Boston? Where are all the people?
I'm like, I drove on that bridge not too long ago, man.
Is this like Boston after an apocalypse or something?
Pretty much.
There was quite a few comments looking for where the crowds were. Like, how is this so empty? Because everything was empty. There were no people anywhere in this movie.
It's like they had to have filmed that in like downtown Boston, Christmas Day, when everybody was like opening their gifts at 8 a.m. or something, because
Right?
otherwise, I don't know how you did it, people. Bravo. Or it was AI.
So part of what they had to do, why they had to do that, I think, is because the tarot spirits could not get you if someone else was there and if the lights were on.
I grew up thinking that about ghosts.
Right? We all kind of believe that. It's like a very childlike idea of ghosts, but it works.
Right.
But to do so, they had to like completely empty out Boston. But again, back to Paxton, which I think is a thread that they should have followed and they didn't. In the beginning, when everybody is getting their cards read, he is the only person to say no and not get his cards read. Haley says, hey, you want your cards read, Paxton? And he's like, I'm going to go. And he leaves and goes to the bathroom. And then he opens the front door and sees the spirit of the astrologer. He's the first person to see her before his cards ever get read. And he turns the light on and she's gone. And so he doesn't think anything of it. But Paxton found the cards. Paxton first saw the ghost. Paxton's one of the few people that Haley doesn't know his sign. She seems to know all of her friends' astro. I mean, I know you're a Gemini, so I guess it's not that far-fetched.
But he also was the one that kind of had to get peer pressured into a reading. But, you know, that's your karma, dude. You found the box and brought it out. Don't know what to tell you.
Right? Maybe. And he got the Fool. He got the Fool reversed, the first card in the deck. I don't know. I just think there's something there with him. And big spoiler, big spoiler here. I'm just telling you right now, people, big spoiler. At the end, the only people to live are Haley, her boyfriend, Grant, played by Adain Bradley, and Paxton, who manages to survive the Fool. How does he survive the Fool, Shell?
So this part was kind of upsetting to me because, you know, everybody has a major fear in their life, and my fear is plunging to my death. So, spoiler alert, Paxton's in this elevator and the Fool is fucking with him. And I'm like, this elevator's gonna fucking just go and he's gonna plunge. And I don't want to.
We were convinced. We were
Yeah.
convinced that that's how he was going to die.
But they don't show you that. They just show you, like, you know, that stoner cower. He's like laying on the floor, curled up in the corner, screaming for everything he's got in him. And then it moves on to the next story plot. Wrap back around when he shows back up. Remember, these spirits can't be around if another person's around. And his friend opened the door and the light
His
came on.
roommate.
Yeah, his roommate. So because his friend showed up and there was actual lights back on, it kind of banished the fool, so to say, temporarily. And he was
Right.
able to get away while his friends then did what, Layla? Like everybody does at the end of a movie.
While his friends managed to figure out how to break the curse on these cards, and she's able to go off and be in the afterlife, and now the cards are just cards.
Yeah, her spirit was able to move on. The curse was lifted. Only 3 friends make it out at the end. A lot better than a Friday the 13th movie, though.
Yeah, instead of just the one, it was a 3.
There was
But of
3.
course, it was the 2 lovers and the stoner.
You got
The
your
stoner
wish.
made it.
You got your
I got
wish.
my wish.
You got your
I
wish.
was very happy. But we called those 3, you know, the stoner, granted, was just a wish on my part, but we called them right from the beginning.
Right?
Very, very predictable movie.
Absolutely. But as far as the way tarot was depicted, there were times where I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? But overall, I'd have to give it a relatively positive. I'm not saying accurate. Don't confuse positive with accurate. But
Yeah.
overall, I think my view of how tarot was portrayed was relatively positive for a horror
Yeah.
movie where the major arcana come kill you.
Agreed. I don't think they ever portrayed it as the tarot itself as being evil. That was never seemed to be.
They're playing on the hot ticket of cursing.
Yeah, there is a curse, and this is the problem. So, that being said, Shell, you and I and a bunch of our friends rent a house in the Catskills.
Hell
We
yeah.
go looking for weed and whiskey in the basement
Yeah.
and manage to find an old tarot deck.
Are you kidding me? Do you even have to ask me this question?
So, of course, we do readings for everyone and each other. Now, to break a curse, what are some things that we could have or they could have done? You know, say you do want to read these cards. What are some things we could do? Like, let's go there.
Okay. Now, first thing is first. If you and I were together in a house and found a tarot deck like that, even if we agreed to use them, which we probably would unless there was a super negative vibe going on, you and I would cast a circle, do that whole create a sacred space sort of thing. I don't know if we'd cleanse the cards or not. I think that I'd like to say we would, but that would be situational. I'm going to err on the side of no, but I think you and I would at least create some sacred safe space so that if we did unleash some demonic hell upon ourselves or the earth, we at least had some sacred circle cast, then try to deal with it. I don't know, you fuck around and find out, but at least you got a plan for how to clean your mess up,
You have a container. And I like how you said that because that reminds me in the movie, they do, again, willing suspension of disbelief here. They managed to find the one astrologer / tarot reader in the world who has dealt with these cards in the past. And she knows
how to, yeah.
She is the person who read the cards for a bunch of people who died. And the only reason she lived is because she didn't read them for herself, just for everyone else. And they all died. So she's now spent decades studying magic and these cards, blah, blah, blah. You do see her in circles. She's
Right.
like, there's 3 circles and symbols. So she at least does that part right.
Right.
And so they do show that. And what a circle can do for you if you're working with negative energies is it becomes a container.
Right.
I know we talk about practical magic,
I was
but
just
do you remember
thinking that?
You remember that part where all the women have their brooms, right? And they put the circle up.
Yes.
And then the bad spirit runs into this invisible wall and bounces back because they've created a circle. They've created a container. And that's why the woman, Alma Astrom, played by Olwen Fouere, the tarot astrologer woman that they just happened to find, she tells them not to cross the circle because once you cross it, you've broken it. So she's created this sacred space to keep that energy inside to try and deal with it. And So that's exactly something that we would do as well.
Yeah.
That's where Shell would start to break out the high magic and we'd start to like actually write stuff on the floor and get serious about this shit.
I'd be like, okay, we're gonna fuck around and find out, but can we at least do it like a semi-proper way?
Right. That's when you're going to want your black salt. That's when you're going to want your protective herbs. You're going to want to get your grimoire or your book out that's got protection magic and protection spells in it. You're going to want these things around. So.
Yeah. This is when you're going to want to break out the real deal protection stuff going on. But yeah, I do it just in a proper manner.
Yeah. So here you go. Say we find a deck and the vibes aren't too bad, but we're like, you know what? Let's cast a circle and let's cleanse this deck and see what happens. I have a smokable spell for you, Shell, to do that.
Okay. Do tell.
Take cannabis because that is an excellent way to purify anything and to impart some sacredness to it.
Not to mention we generally have it on us when we're out and about like that.
That's right. It's generally an herb I have in abundance and on me regularly, which is always a benefit. But I would say get one that is high in the terpenes of limonene and pinene, because those two terpenes are known for being uplifting, cleansing. They can help you get into meditative or magical space. They're very good for banishing and creating sacred space. Think lemons and pine. Limonene is like the lemon one, right? And lemon and citrus definitely help with clarity, with focus, with cleansing. That's something that can help with cleansing. And pinene is very reminiscent of pine. And pine needles and pine can be used in cleansing, hex breaking, getting rid of ghosts. Limoncello is a cannabis cultivar that is high in both of those terpenes. So if you do that, and then if you throw in a little bit of rosemary, which is good for hex breaking and getting rid of ghosts, a little bit of clove, a little bit of mugwort. Again, both of those are great for cleansing, and mugwort is really good to help open your psychic abilities. So if you mix all that together in a bowl or in a joint and, inhale that with the intention of imbuing your own power and your own energy and cleansing out anything that's already on those cards or that object. So smoke that in, mix that spell in your lungs, and then breathe that energy out onto the cards and do that 3 times or 7 times. And that is a really good way to cleanse the cards and to help start to attune them to you.
And then shuffle them bad boys.
Then shuffle those bitches, right? Now your third eye's open. You're all awakened anyways. You've got some good sacred cleanse space going on. Go for it. But honestly, those cards, if that was a hex like that was upon the cards, not that I've ever encountered anything like that in real life, but a hex like that, I would imagine would have a pretty heavy negative energy to it.
Yeah, and if we were feeling that kind of thing, we'd be like, maybe we should set that right on back where we found it.
Yeah, I think so too. I'd be like, that one doesn't feel quite right. And, that's like when we were hanging out in Salem, we went to Old Town Salem and visited a lot of the old sites. Most of it, as you and I were walking through, we could feel the weight of history. It was interesting, but there were very few things where we actually felt like energy or spirit or anything like that. But when we did, we both felt it at the same time. And
Right.
The one I'm thinking of in particular was the doll, the poppet that
Oh
was
my
used
God,
as
yeah.
that was an object in one of the historical homes that we both had. You could feel the vibes coming off of it. And so if you can feel something so much so that other people are feeling the same thing you are, then that's something you might want to pay attention to and, work accordingly, I guess.
No touchy, no touchy.
No touchy. Yeah, that's not a doll I'd play with.
Overall, would you say worth your time watching? Was it a good movie? Would you recommend? Overall, would you say this was a good movie? Would you recommend it? What's your thoughts?
Ooh, well, I would say that it was a fun watch. It was not a good movie. It was very formulaic. After we watched it, I read a couple reviews where people said they thought like the opening scene was written by AI. And honestly, I could almost kind of see it. It was very predictable. And there was at least half a dozen times where you had to just be like, that could never. Okay, I'm going to go with it.
This is what I like to call hokey horror.
It was fun though. I liked it and I did like it and I had a good time watching it. I was happy with the death scenes, I guess. They were interesting, they were different. How about you? What did you think?
Hokey horror. It was a very hokey movie, but I've seen worse horror movies. How about that?
Yeah, there were worse. I've seen worse acting. I've seen worse plot holes.
But I wouldn't put this on the level of the freaking original Exorcist by any stretch. But, I'd give it if you're looking for a fun horror movie, the plus side for me is there wasn't a lot of blood and guts. Like I don't need to see your blood and guts splattered. I'm not that person. And that pleased me. So if you don't like blood and guts, good movie, but you're not going to get scared. It's not like you're not going to sleep at night.
Light horror.
Yeah.
It was fun, interesting, good jump scares, creepy enough that I covered my eyes a couple times,
Yeah.
but not so bad that, like you said, you couldn't sleep at night or,
Right.
it was more interesting. The ending, I think, almost ruined it for me because it was just a little too unbelievable.
You were just happy that the stoner lived.
I was happy the stoner lived, but the whole Paxton storyline had a lot of plot holes from the very beginning, but also a lot of interesting side tangents that I don't think that they explored, or if they had explored, would have made for a better movie. And it would have also made the ending more believable and a little scarier, to be honest. All right, I see the look on your face, Shell. Let me explain. If they had made it where Paxton had set this whole thing up, I would have bought that and it would have been a cooler ending. Paxton is the one that's into all these horror and crime podcasts. Paxton is the one who suggested they search the house. Paxton is the one that found the tarot cards and suggested they use it. Paxton is the first one to see the ghost. Paxton is the only person in the history of these fucking cards to live. And somehow Paxton made the 4-hour and 11-minute drive back to get them super fast. I'm not sure how that worked out. But anyway.
Are you writing like a part 2 to this? Like, what are you doing?
I almost wish they had because, as I was rewatching it, trying to get like pictures of the cards and stuff, there's so much with Paxton that they did not develop. And I'm going to show you something else that I thought was really cool. I caught this the first time we watched it. When Paxton went back to his dorm room, did you catch, they lingered on the billboard. Did you catch that billboard at all?
No. I remember seeing it, but I don't remember. I remember you making a comment, but I remember being like, I don't know what she's talking about.
The bulletin board in his dorm room is covered with things that suggest Taurus, the Fool, you're dead, take the bull by the horns. It's just like
related stuff.
So related.
It's because he's the one who found the box.
Even more interesting than the fact that this bulletin board has so much stuff about the Fool and Taurus and death on it, it also foreshadows that he's going to live. If you look here, you see it says, looking for a roommate. Need help? Here for you.
I got
help. Haunted, murder, musical, take the bull by the horns.
Astrology lecture. Yeah.
Is my roommate a fool? There's the fucking fool's face right there.
Okay.
Here it is again. Here it is again. So they actually suggest right here on this bulletin board that his roommate is going to help him.
Right. You catch weird things. I would never have caught that.
Isn't that funny? So I'll post this picture on the thing. But yeah, so I don't know. I just thought that there was this whole Paxton thing that could have been something different. I don't know. So we definitely want the tarot deck. We also want the astrology mat. Yeah. So they need to make that.
That about covers it.
So I think it was good. How about rewatchability? Would you be able to rewatch this movie?
I'd rewatch it if I didn't have anything else compelling on Netflix. Sure. Yeah.
I would probably rewatch it just to see some of the details that are in there. And just because, like I said, that bulletin board that I saw for Paxton with all the little details in it made me want to kind of go back and look through it. Plus, I really wanted to get a closer look at the deck itself. So I'm very much hoping that someone publishes one. That would be very cool.
I have a feeling we're going to see this deck. I got to.
I do too. And we have done Wheel of the Year spreads before.
Right.
Astrology spreads are nothing new. They've been around for literal decades. After seeing this movie, would you try one?
Hell yeah.
Would you be scared if you tried it?
No.
You wouldn't be creeped out at all. You wouldn't be like, this is like the movie. I feel a little freaked out right now.
Okay, I might not do it if I had that deck.
I might.
I might not do it if I had that deck.
Oh, you do it with a different deck, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like my catacorn deck that's all cat unicorns.
Oh, that would be cute. One of the Kickstarter decks I saw is a creepy cat deck. It's adorable. It's so cute. Anyway, so I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for listening to this Solarium. If you've liked our show, please give us some stars, rate us, review us, give us a like, tell your friends. You can check us out on our website at backonthebroomstick.com. Instagram, Facebook, and a huge thank you to Helen Jojo, the moderator of our fan discussion board back on the Broomstick discussion group on Facebook. You are amazing and wonderful witch. We appreciate you very, very much.
And we swear we're going to get caught up on messages and we will get back to you shortly. We appreciate your patience.
Thank you guys all so very much. We will see you next week. Be wise, be wicked.
Keep it witchy.